It's great to have F5 here. If I start out, we kind of changed the relationship in F5. It was kind of run by our security BU a couple years ago, and we saw like where it was headed. Really like the technology. A lot of the multi-cloud networking stuff comes to my team, as well as Darren's too also. Mm-hmm. So we're on the cloud side of things, and now we're with digital as well as cloud and platform engineering. But the importance there is we really saw like, this is not just a technology anymore on F5, it's something that we can build into programs, and it leads into everything that we're doing with AI services and hybrid cloud and multi-cloud networking and data center migrations and however you want to look at it. So with that, I want to introduce Matt Play, who's Senior Vice President of Sales for the Americas.
Yes.
So with that, Matt, do you want to start out and just talk to us about your relationship with Trace3 and what you've seen over the past couple of years?
Absolutely. So great to be here with you, first of all. And I couldn't agree more with what you said. It's really a hybrid environment. And I think the way we are seeing the market develop and evolve is so different and unique than it used to be. And that's where F5 has really, I think, put a lot of energy behind it. Behind the partnership, I think for us is what's really important, is that we feel like the partners that we invest in is partners that really understand, I think, what the vision of the market is. And so that's what speaks to our strength, I think, in partnership. And so I'm really excited to keep partnering with Trace3. My relationship goes back many, many years with Trace3, so it's just great to be here. So thanks again for having me.
Excellent. Yeah, and I talked to my team about, it's a journey now. It's not, again, about just the technology and load balancing, and as we move through that, how about some of the most recent like wins that we've maybe had? We talk about, we have some things that are just, we do some renewals and things, but it's way more important than that, and how our relationship goes.
Most definitely, far beyond, obviously just maintaining customers, but it's about looking at these new use cases, what are expanding. I mean, everyone says AI, and I'm almost like apprehensive to say AI, but I can tell you this. These verticals that we're seeing, healthcare in particular, we've had some phenomenal wins, just monster wins together, and that's expanding really because of our true intention behind the partnership, which is really understanding these expanding use cases for the workloads behind the application of AI. And so it's turning, API, these applications are turning into APIs, and the way we address those, not just from a data delivery or assurance perspective, but the security that goes behind it. And that's really the key differentiator when we come together in partnership.
And I know the licensing model is a whole different, like, distributed cloud. And how does that look for, like, the customer these days? Are they taking advantage of like all the new features, or is it, again, going to be somewhat of a journey of them taking care of this, using distributed cloud, multi-cloud networking,
sure,
API security, all the great acquisitions that you guys have done?
Yeah, so again, looking at the portfolio of things, application delivery and security platform for us, affectionately known as ADSP, is really the conduit for that. We're not so concerned about, obviously, what your deployment model is. We, of course, think that SaaS plays a huge role, and SaaS delivery plays a huge role, but on-premise, now it's moving to public cloud, or moving back, and maybe could be coming back from public cloud. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you start to see where you incubate ideas and applications, that's where we see it as like, it really should be ubiquitous, and it's really important that it is, and that, I feel like that's our key differentiator or strength in the product portfolio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've been very key, I think, in the marketplace to enable that agnostic footprint where clients can actually take their workloads where they will need to take them, be there. I'm a long time F5 and a big IP user from way back, and I've enjoyed seeing, again, your evolution as you've grown and developed your product suite and been able to support clients through that whole journey. I feel like it's a much more holistic approach now than it was before.
It's easy. I mean, I think a lot of companies say platform, but it's really hard to do. And a great statistic for you, our partnership goes so far back that it was actually, F5 was one of the first 4 for Trace3 as a solution. So if you think about our heritage together and what that means and how tight our partnership is, exactly what you're saying is that we've evolved with you, and I think with the market, which speaks, I think, volumes about, where we think the market is going together mutually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think about, again, like Darren and I've been around for a while. And we've definitely always have touched some sort of F5 equipment in the past. But the reality is there's still a lot of embedded technologists within these companies that, it's not that they don't want to change, it's still the best technology, right? I mean, we go back and we look at, now we're dealing with APIs and we're dealing with AI, but they still think of, hey, I'm going to do this with the same type of stuff, whether it's in the CSP or the new model that we're going to use, or the new OS on the F5 equipment. But that's really important to us. There's not a lot of evolution of like getting new technologists trained, and we see that the supportability of the product in moving into distributed cloud is something that, distributed cloud is the new model. And it kind of masks the old model. Kind of where I'm going with this is, we have a gap, and we're going to fill it with like new technologists on-prem, adopting what's going into distributed cloud. And how is it like distributed cloud adoption been for you guys?
It's pretty phenomenal. So I want to say one thing and acknowledge our customers and partners over that time. We are so fortunate at F5 to have the kind of followership that we have because of the technology, and we're so dedicated to that technology and the evolution of it. So I want to say thank you, first of all, to our customers and partners. But distributed cloud is an extension, I think, of our commitment to the market, is essentially the way you can think of it. And so what distributed cloud means for us is really taking the components that we do extremely well, that we have done extremely well on premise, but then giving those in a cloud delivered function. And I think it sounds simple by nature, but to truly architect and design something that gets delivered in the way that F5 has built the big IP business, and for us to be able to deliver that takes a really methodical approach. And I feel like that evolution of what we're doing will continue. And so what we're looking at now is like, very unique things in the WAF market, like AI WAF, for example, and really leaning into some of these concepts. Will they stand the test of time? Who knows? But it doesn't really matter because we're going to learn a ton through that process. And that's what's awesome about F5. It's just, we have an obsession for innovation.
Yeah, it is definitely exciting times. And it's fun to see, honestly, the innovation and the leading edge, sometimes bleeding edge that we're all in, as you're talking about it, maintaining the context and providing, that protection for AI. And it's fun, honestly, to see where the market's going and what's happening.
It's really exciting. I mean, to think about how much has changed. Yeah. Think about it this way, like, the first sort of example of I'm able to go somewhere and type in something to write a whole email for me wasn't that long ago. And I'm sort of omitting the name intentionally, but what I can tell you is that our portfolio has really developed, not in just that delivery mechanism, but the security and the posture of it. So even some of our acquisitions in like Calypso AI, for example, and those guardrails that we put in place for those to give companies, I think the confidence to be able to use these tools more effectively becomes increasingly important. I mean, there's so much at stake. And we realize that, and we want to be part of what we've always done extremely well, but really leaning into the things that we know we can develop as this market develops almost real time in front of our eyes. We were talking about this earlier, but the convergence and consolidation that's coming in the market, here's the way I think we see it, and it's so hard to manage 60 plus technologies. I was talking to an entertainment company. They have so much, not just tech debt, like of course you're spending tons of it, but how are you deploying it? How credible is it? How much do you trust it? How do you keep revision control behind it? And then how are you making all these things work together? You're using other tools to make these things work together. This is why we think platform ultimately is one of the more important, I think, decisions an enterprise or a company can make, just thinking about all the technology that it's going to take, I think, to enable their business.
Yeah, you've definitely made significant investments to build the platform story and be able to support your clients better, our clients all better, in a broad capacity, rather than, again, like you're saying, buying niche solutions, which doesn't serve anyone in the end. It's just very complex in the operationalization of it.
I mean, I think enterprises had the right approach at one point, right? You're going to buy the best of breed of market.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of makes sense, the way it started, but then you start looking at how many technologies that you have to manage as a result. Yeah. Really, at the end of the day, from a security perspective, that creates opportunity for the adversaries. And so if you kind of think about it from that way, and it's not really, I'm not thinking of it as a sort of a negative consequence to it, but it's kind of a natural consequence to just managing that much technology and how that works. So we see it as when you have a unified posture, when you have these abilities to converge and consolidate more effectively through platform, you're just going to have a better experience, and then it's going to be a connected experience.
Yeah. And then your team can become an expert at the platform instead of having to divide and conquer of we have 3 experts on this and 2 experts on that and like 47 solutions like you're talking about. It definitely solves for the complexity to help reduce the overhead.
And that's where our partnership really comes through, because that's what creates the opportunity for us together, is to be able to take those services and distill those down, I think, and make sense of those for our mutual customers. And that's what creates, I think, our partnership together, the success of it so much, is because we can't do it on our own. And that's why we lean in with you.
Yeah, the reality is really, it's not easy. And we build programs around things like F5 and integrating networks and data and how it's going to operate and going forward and from what it is now and going into the future. So that's what I'm so excited about. I mean, that's where we are on our digital side of the house, and building programs. It's not a point solution. It's something that's long-term. We're going to go deeper into this, and all the F5 suite of products is not an easy thing to consume, right? And then technology is not an easy thing to consume, and consulting and making sure it's being implemented the right way is not an easy thing to do. But we have the right customers, the right mentality. It's going to be fantastic working with F5 going forward. So really appreciate it. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you for the partnership.
Thank you.